Hello, this is Shay Jackson with Hype Math and Reading. In today's video, we will be reviewing for the 2022 Texas STAAR Math Test for 6th graders. Our concept is comparing and ordering rational numbers. This is part 2. Remember, 6th graders, the time to be awesome is now. Do you need a math or reading tutor? We offer virtual one-on-one or group tutoring for 2nd to 8th grade students. Parents, there is a link in the description box to sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. Our 6th grade STAAR Math Review Workbook is available for purchase in our store. The link is in the description box so that you can grab yours today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and press the like button so that more 6th graders can take advantage of these types of videos. And also find out more about Hype Math and Reading. Let's talk about comparing and ordering fractions with unlike denominators. When comparing and ordering fractions with unlike denominators, you must find a common denominator. To do that, you must find the least common multiple, or the LCM. Sometimes you'll see it as the LCD as well, which means it is the smallest multiple that the denominators share. Here are the steps to finding our least common denominator or our least common multiple. Step 1, write the multiples of each denominator. Step 2, find the LCM, or the smallest multiple between the numbers. Step 3, write the equivalent fractions with the LCM. And step 4, compare or order the fractions based on the directions. So let's look at an example. Which fraction is greater, 1/3 or 1/4? And again, we are going to apply the steps we talked about in order to find the least common denominator and then compare the fractions. So step 1, we need to write the multiples of each denominator. Our multiples for 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and so on. For 4, it is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and it continues, okay? So what we need to do is find the smallest multiple between the two numbers. Now, if you notice that we have both 12 and 24 highlighted, however, we are going to choose the smallest multiple, which is 12. So our LCM is equal to 12. Next, we need to write the equivalent fractions with our least common multiple. Again, that is 12. So in order to do that, to write the equivalent fractions, let's start with 1/3. We must now have our denominator for our equivalent fraction. The denominator is 12. So what I need to do with 1/3, starting at the denominator, is ask myself, what number times 3 is equal to 12? And it is 4. Since I am multiplying the denominator by 4, I need to multiply the numerator by 4 as well, okay? So that's why we have 1/3 times 4/4, because again, our least common denominator, or our least common multiple, is 12, and we are making an equivalent fraction. Now that we have multiplied, let's multiply across, starting with our numerators. 1 times 4 is equal to 4. And 3 times 4 is equal to 12. So our equivalent fraction for 1/3 is 4/12. Now let's do the same thing to 1/4. We must ask ourselves, with the denominator being 12, what times 4 is equal to 12? And that is 3. Since I have to multiply the denominator by 3, I must also multiply the numerator by 3 as well. That is why we have 1/4 times 3 over 3. Multiplying our numerators going across, 1 times 3 is equal to 3, and 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So 1/4 with the equivalent fraction is 3/12. Now we can move to step 4. Our directions ask us which fraction is greater, and all we need to do now, since our denominators are the same, is compare our numerators. Since 4 is larger than 3, the greatest fraction is 4/12. Okay, now let's dive into a problem. And again, these problems are in our 6th grade STAAR Math Review workbook. The link is in the description box. Number 10 says, Alita will use 6 different wires for a science project. The fractions represent the diameters of these wires in inches. Which list shows the diameters of the wires in order from least to greatest? And let's look at the different measurements of the wires. We have 7 over 16, 1/2, 3/8, 9 over 32 or 9 and 32 hundredths, 5 over 16, and also 15 over 32. Let's look at our answer choices. For F, we have 1/2, 3/8, 5/16, 7/16, then 5/16, 15 over 32, 9 over 32. For G, we have 9 over 32, 15 over 32, 5/16, 7/16, 3/8, and 1/2. For answer choice H, it is 1/2, 3/8, 5/16, 7/16, 9 over 32, and 15 over 32. Lastly, we have J, 9 over 32, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 15 over 32, and 1/2. Woo! The first question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we looking for? We are looking for the list that shows the diameters of the wires in order from least to greatest. Okay, very important question. The next question we need to ask ourselves is, what information can help find the answer? So the information that can help find the answer are the fractions that we're comparing. And again, here are the list of the fractions. Okay, now that we have the fractions, the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how are we going to solve the problem. Well, the way that we're going to solve the problem is we are going to use the steps in order for us to get or find our equivalent fractions, since all of our denominators are unlike. Okay, again, step 1, we're going to find the LCM of the denominators 16, 2, 8, and 32. Step 2, we are going to write the equivalent fractions with the LCM. 3, we're going to order the fractions from least to greatest. So let's dive in using step 1. For step 1, we are going to list the multiples first, okay? And we listed the multiples for 16, 8, 32, and also 2. If you notice, in looking at all of the multiples, our least common multiple is 32, okay? And that is why it is highlighted. So now that we know what the least common multiple is, our next step is to write the equivalent fractions with our LCM or LCD, least common denominator, which is 32, okay? And that is what we've done here. And we've color-coded it just so that you can follow along. Let's use and start with 7 over 16. So in order to get the equivalent fraction, what I need to ask myself is, what times 16 is equal to 32? Okay, so 16 times 2 is equal to 32. So again, whatever we multiply at the bottom, we also must do at the top. So 7 over 16 times 2 over 2, we're going to multiply our numerators. That is 7 times 2 is equal to 14. 16 times 2 is equal to 32. So now our equivalent fraction for 7 over 16 is 14 over 32. Next, let's go to 1/2. Again, we know that our least common denominator is 32. So I'm going to ask myself, what times 2 is equal to 32? And that is 16. I'm going to multiply 1/2 times 16 over 16. Now let's multiply across our numerators. 1 times 16 is equal to 16. And now going to the denominator, 2 times 16 is equal to 32. So the equivalent fraction of 1/2 is equal to 16 over 32. Next, let's look at 3/8. Again, since our least common denominator is 32, I'm going to ask myself, what times 8 is equal to 32? And that is 4. So 3/8 times 4 over 4. Next step, we're going to multiply our numerators going across. 3 times 4 is equal to 12. And 8 times 4, now we're in our denominator, 8 times 4 is equal to 32. So the equivalent fraction of 3/8 is 12 over 32. Now let's look at our second row, starting with 9 over 32. Well, 9 over 32 already has a denominator of 32. So all I'm going to do is multiply it by 1 over 1, or we could just leave the fraction. But I did want to show you what you could do, since we're multiplying all of the fractions by another fraction in order to get the equivalent fraction. What it would be for 9 over 32, since our denominator is already 32, would be 1 over 1, okay? Multiplying our numerators, 9 times 1 is equal to 9. And now our denominators, 32 times 1 is equal to 32. Now let's go to 5 over 16. Again, we know our least common denominator is what? Yes, 32. So I'm going to ask myself, what times 16 is equal to 32? And we know that it's 2. So 5 over 16 times 2 over 2. Now we need to multiply our numerators going across. 5 times 2 is equal to 10. And then for our denominators, 16 times 2 is equal to 32. So our equivalent fraction for 5 over 16 is 10 over 32. Lastly, we have 15 over 32, and yes, because this already has the least common denominator, or our LCD, of 32, we can multiply it by 1 over 1, or we could just leave it like it is, okay? Multiplying our numerators across, 15 times 1 is equal to 15, and 32 times 1 is equal to 32. And 15 over 32 is, of course, 15 over 32, okay? And that's because, again, that the denominator is our LCD, which is 32. Now, let's order our fractions from least to greatest. And again, everything is color-coded so that you can follow along. Now, if you look at our bottom row, since all of our denominators are the same, all we need to do is look at our numerators, and they are listed in order from least to greatest, or from smallest to largest, okay? First, we have 9 over 32. Next, it's 5 over 16, but the equivalent fraction is 10 over 32. Next, we have 3/8, but the equivalent fraction is 12 over 32. Next, after that, we have 7 over 16. We know that the equivalent fraction for that is 14 over 32. Next, we have 15 over 32. And lastly, for 1/2, we know that our equivalent fraction is 16 over 32. Okay, so now that we know, looking at the bottom, everything is ordered going across, we're going to look at the top row, and we know from least to greatest that our fractions are 9 over 32, 5 over 16, 3 over 8, 7 over 16, 15 over 13, and 1/2. What is our correct answer? Now that we have our list ordered from least to greatest, let's look at the answer choices to see which one matches exactly like our answer. So our correct answer is H. I'm sorry. No, it's J. Please forgive me. It is J. J is the correct answer because it is identical to our list that we have from least to greatest, okay? And that is it for our comparing and ordering rational numbers part 2. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and press the like button so that other people who are looking for math help would be able to learn about height, math, and reading in our videos. If you need a tutor, parents, we have a link in the description box so that you can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. And we have our 6th grade STAAR Math Review Workbook available for purchase in our store. This is Shay Jackson with Hype, Math, and Reading. I will talk to you later.